it's just not right. It's absolutely not right. That this can happen and there's no compensation, there's no accountability. Someone has to be accountable.
I see when I first started up there was construction. Then I ended up on tramming. And then I ended up, I laid off a little bit there. Back on Scotty Ross's gang or whatever. Into the cinder plant. And a lot of asbestos in there. He's sheeting all over there where the old pecs were and everything else. And from there, down the furnaces. Got laid off a few times. Went back on labor gang. Tramming back to the furnaces. And tapped a little bit. Worked the old lead well because I was still just a young guy. And they had their furnace men and all that there. But everywhere you went there was asbestos sheets 4 feet wide. You needed a chunk.
There's a lab in Vancouver that they send the specimens to that said that it was definitely malignant mesothelioma, which is somewhat different from just asbestosis, as they call it. This is a cancer that is on the outside of the lung, and
well, it penetrated probably.
It is definitely from having worked with asbestos. His right lung right now is collapsed. It's not functioning. He's been through chemo. He's been through some radiation. I think that really hurts everybody, you know, that as a family, it affects all of you as a family. But interestingly, he's just come to basically a halt now. He's having pain, he's on morphine, he's on painkillers, and his activity basically is going for a ride or coming out to the garden, and he's on his oxygen pretty well 24 hours. When it came down to compensation, they said that there was legislation out there that tied their hands and he would not be able to get compensation. They are paying his medical, but we already have medical. But accountability and responsibility to his shortened life and his quality of life and the family. We did appeal the fact that they said they couldn't give compensation, and they said their hands were tied because of the legislation that Premier Campbell's government, my premier, had introduced. And so I then wrote a letter to Premier Campbell, and I received a letter back from Olga Illich, the labor minister, saying that she had looked into WCB and that they were paying for our medical expenses, and she was very sorry for his condition, and I believe her. I'm sure she, you know, feels sympathy, but that really isn't compensation.
I mean, you can see he still had pipes back then.
Oh yeah.
From twisting wrenches all those years. I mean, I always remember he was
strong.
A strong boy.
Yeah, for someone who's never smoked a day in his life, I mean.
Mesothelioma doesn't show up until you're retired.
Yeah.
But they all agree that it's a work-related injury. They actually state that in letters, that this is a very devastating work-related injury. So then my question comes around, gee, have we been talking to the wrong people, like talking to the labor minister and talking to WCB? If their hands are tied by the legislation and they're saying that this is all there is to offer, then do you go to the company? Is she sort of in a backward way saying to me, WCB can't take care of this because there is this legislation? Then do you talk to the company, because somebody has to be accountable? They're calling it a devastating work-related illness. And if it was work-related and he was sent to those places to work, in those hazardous conditions, and this is the result, then should there not be some compensation for this?
Over the past 5 years, we've seen an increase in asbestos-related disease, and we know that that's going to increase. These are cases that we know
of. They seem to have taken the compensation out of workers' compensation when they've gone to WorkSafe BC, and that is a travesty, and it's something that needs to be corrected, and it needs to be looked at that this is about these men, their families, their children, their grandchildren, and their families' futures. And it's a sad situation that we just can't tolerate in this province.
The people that worked at Tech Cominco and were exposed to asbestos, some of them are spending their last breaths fighting a system when they should be spending their retirement with some dignity with their grandchildren and gardening. And so it's very sad that the employers are getting a holiday from this exposure and the workers are spending their last days fighting it in pain and agony, and that has to change.
I can't understand how a company that, is supposed to look after your employees would do this to somebody, and their families. What they're going through is very difficult, and they have no idea what it's like to watch somebody die.
And what do you see for your future, Dale?
What future? I just hope that I hope I have a few more years left. I don't know, but
And I ask us all to think about what we've seen here and what people have said, and we need to all work together to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Asbestos has now been dubbed one of the worst industrial mistakes of the 20th century, and it remains the #1 occupational killer in BC.
And it's about time the governments of the world realize that these people acquire a disability pension from the work they did.
I will go wherever you lead me, on rivers of roses or rain. I will follow the signs that you leave me, the mysteries of joy and of pain. I will search for light in the darkness, though I stumble through shadow and shade. Oh, if you are with me, of whom shall I be afraid? Oh, if you are with me, of whom shall I be afraid? Whom shall I be afraid now? When I've fallen, driven the ghost from my door, you have comforted me in my sorrow, wiped my brow when I've been sick and sore. You have shared in all of my triumphs and blessed the crops that we've laid. Oh, if you are with me, of whom shall I be afraid? Oh, if you are with me, of whom shall I be afraid? I have wondered at your sacrifice as I stood at the gates of dawn, just to love one another. That was your advice, and that keeps me moving on. It keeps me moving on. Yeah.